Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It is a live edition of PodUp and Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. Locations across the state of Florida, and right there in Celebration Point in the heart of Gator Nation. Go check them out, International Diamond Center. Happy New Year to everyone. Got a lot to talk about today. We'll have Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, first, and then we'll have JC second part of the program. Brent, let's go straight to you. You're on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Town. What's up, my man? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, my friend. What a wild day, and what a wild week that we have had. We're not over yet. We've still got a lot of bowl games today. Believe it or not, people may have thought yesterday was it, but it's not. And amazingly, and again, Shane, this is something that we've really got to look at. The transfer portal is open today. Yes, a day after basically having some of the most important games of the season. You're dealing with the transfer portal, so we can't fix it today, but it's something they got to look at, right?
No doubt. Also want to give a shout out to our producer, Zach. Congratulations to him and his wife on the new baby girl.
Absolutely.
And no sleep for Zach moving forward. Brent, as you mentioned, the transfer portal opened up pretty much at midnight.
Yeah.
I say this every year about the transfer portal. There's kids that have gone in that transfer portal and never got out.
That's right.
I wish somebody, and I'm going to get somebody in the media to write a story on that, because some people think it's better, greener grass elsewhere, but sometimes it's not. So anyway, let's recap what happened yesterday or in the night before. Let's start with the Miami game, Brent. Boy, what a good football game that was.
It really was. Miami controlled the line of scrimmage. Akeem Messidor, Reuben Bain, that offensive line really played well. Bain and Messidor really could not be blocked. They had 3 sacks combined. And Julian Sang, the Ohio State quarterback, was harried on about every play. The amazing thing is, in the run game, Ohio State averaged 1.9 yards per carry, which is something that you would have never seen from them during the year. Mark Fletcher played well. He almost had 100 yards again. Frankly, Ohio State really did not put pressure on Carson Beck with that too. So, and they won the game on special teams. Also, Dylan Joyce, the punter, was really good. It was a huge win overall for Miami. I think people were surprised at that. My star, Shane, if you would have told us at the beginning of the year that Indiana and Miami would be basically among the final teams in the playoff, would people have believed it?
Yeah. It took Ohio State a while to get going. The thing that still stands out to me, Brent, is we only had one team that has a bye since we've gone to 12 teams win the football game. That was Indiana. Everybody else has lost.
Yes.
I think that 3 to 4 week layoff is killing these guys. So I think they may need to tweak that.
Yes.
The early game yesterday, Oregon just put it on Texas Tech. Texas Tech had a tremendous defensive performance. I could not believe how poorly they played on offense. I've watched Texas Tech play a lot. Baron Morton just was not very good. Nobody on their offense was very good, but I was very surprised at how Texas Tech played on offense.
Yeah, I was too. I mean, to be basically shut out. It was stunning in a lot of ways. Now, people will look at Texas Tech and they'll criticize them for paying all that money and having a team that really should have probably at least gone to the Final Four, but unfortunately they were not able to do that, as Shane said, in a shocking game. But at the same time, we got to give Oregon a lot of credit, don't we, Shane, for hanging in the way that they did. Their defense stepped up. They certainly scored. You think they would have scored more, maybe, but at the same time, just a humongous win for them in a lot of ways. And look, to your point, Morton, the Tech quarterback, 18 of 32 for 137, which was nowhere near what they would be. But again, Tech finished 12-2, second in the nation in points per game, 42 a game, and really were not able to get anything going. So that was as big a surprise as anything we saw yesterday, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think the other thing that surprised me was the physicality. I thought Indiana was bigger, faster, and stronger
Yeah.
than Alabama. Much faster football team. And I know people sit here and we all want Jaden Ball back, but there's so many good running backs around America. And
Yes.
I was extremely impressed with the two running backs from Indiana. I thought they had tremendous speed and power, and they ran mean. Or mad, I should say. They ran through Alabama players. Brent, you're an Alabama guy. What are your takes from that game?
Well, I think you have to look at it in two ways. One was, I mean, they won 11 games this year. They got into the SEC championship game, which they lost to Georgia, and then they got in the playoffs and they beat Oklahoma. But they had a very difficult loss yesterday to Indiana, and a lot of their problem, and there were many of them. They overall during the year, they really looked good defensively. The defense was frankly a real surprise for Alabama. But as they got into the year, the things that really bit them were, and as Shane said, besides a really good Indiana team that took advantage of everything that Alabama could not do. But the main problem for Alabama, but particularly, was offensively. They just simply could not run the football. Running the football, frankly, was a waste of time for them. And I think the other situation with Ty Simpson, who was out of the game because he had a broken rib. Simpson got hurt in the South Carolina game, and he was never the same player after that, which was a real problem. So they really never threw the ball probably over 30 yards toward the end of the season. So they've got a difficult off season to go through. It'll be interesting to see what they do in the portal and go from there. So it was a lot of good and bad this year for the Tide.
Very true. And then the nightcap last night, a phenomenal game. Ole Miss comes from behind and just dominates the second half against Georgia. Brent, I've watched a lot of college football, and I've loved this kid all season long. I don't know how he wasn't like the SEC Player of the Year. But
Really?
Trinity Chambliss last night put on a show. Some of the plays he made were just remarkable. And look, I was surprised that Ole Miss, they kind of had that bend but don't break defense because they can't match the physicality of Georgia.
True.
But their skill guys, that the damn Keywan Lacey is a phenomenal running back.
Yes.
He might be the best in America, quite honestly, because he can catch the ball in the backfield. He makes a lot of plays. But the wide receivers from Ole Miss made plays. Just your thoughts. You don't see Kirby's teams lose games like that.
No, you really don't. As a matter of fact, you see them come back. And at one point, they had a double-digit lead, and a lot of people thought that, well, they may have turned off the television after that. One thing that's been, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, one thing that's really being debated with this, and you touched on it earlier, Georgia had a 26-day layoff before they played, and I'm not using that as an excuse, but it had to affect them in some ways. But they missed tackles on defense. They failed to block pass rushers on offense. They had miscommunication at times, which was difficult for them. But look, to your point, Ole Miss deserves an incredible amount of credit for what they did. Look, Chambliss at quarterback is just really absolutely unbelievable, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. And look, if you're Ole Miss, you don't have Lane Kiffin. They were able to win the game, frankly, without him. And look, after beating Tulane in Georgia, Ole Miss is one of the hottest teams in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that matchup against Miami because of the physicality and the trenches that Miami has. But I would not put anything past Trinidad Chambliss. He and those skill guys, they amaze me.
They do.
He plays. So Brent, I know we'll talk more about it as it goes on, but right now you got Oregon, Indiana playing in Atlanta, and you got Ole Miss and
Yeah.
Miami playing out in Arizona. Who do you like in those two games early on?
Miami's playing so well, it's almost hard to go against them. But Ole Miss finds ways to win. I mean, Shane, it would almost be unbelievable for us to be talking about Ole Miss as being a real threat to win a national championship. But at this point, the way they're playing, you really just can't ignore that situation either. So and it's hard to look past Indiana. I mean, the thing about this Indiana team, and they're playing so well in all three phases of the game. They really rarely made a mistake against Alabama. And from doing this with you for so long, one thing I've learned from you is, if you don't make mistakes and you don't beat yourself, you've got a chance to win a lot of games. And Shane, that's exactly where Indiana is, right?
Yeah, Indiana's very well coached. Their players play their assignment. When you got to set the edge, they set the edge. Whether
Yes.
you want to do it or not, Indiana players do it. Their quarterback, extremely smart, extremely accurate, knows where to go with the football. And they got some good skill guys too. My goodness.
They do.
That little kid out in, I think he's from Nashville, the white wide receiver that went up and caught that post route. They say he's like could be the fastest player in college football too. So
That's amazing.
It's a remarkable story. I think when you look at what they've done in Indiana and you look at Signetti, it's got to be the greatest sports story in the history of college football.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, no doubt. I mean, the reality of it is, he's earned his stripes, hasn't he, Shane? He's coached at lower level. Now he's coaching at the higher level. But look, they are just so fundamentally sound. They do not beat themselves. They are, and I know it's trite to say this, but they are so solid in all three phases of the game.
Yes, they are. Electronics World Integration Design Specialist for Smart Home Automation and Entertainment. Let Electronics World bring the Florida Gators, college football, basketball, and the NFL to your living room. Check them out, electronicsworld.net. Brent, give me your thoughts on Kyle Whittingham to Michigan.
Well, I think it's a good hire in a lot of ways. I mean, people say, well, gosh, he's in the 60s. Well, big deal. I mean, he is. He did a great job at Utah. I think he's what they need. I mean, he's 66 years old. Look, and Shane, I don't think they're looking for a long-term situation with him. I mean, he's not going to be coaching them for 10 years. But the thing they want to do is they need someone in there that can rebuild that culture and some credibility that goes along with it. I mean, look, he did a great job at Utah. People can quibble about that, but I mean, even this year alone, they were in the top 10 in total offense, for instance. So I think he's probably what they need at this point, just to be able to settle down. I mean, Whittingham's had very little of any trouble at Utah. There's no real accusations with him. Loves to ride his Harley, but he's a tough-nosed football coach, and they need someone like him, I think, for the next few years, just to rebuild what they had.
We got a text here on the Titan Mart text line from John in the Panhandle. Sent me a screenshot here of how many people are in the portal. It says like over 3,300 entered the portal before D1 opens. I don't know what that, I guess before yesterday.
Yeah.
And then there's over 5,000 from NAIA and JUCO. And he says statistically, only 30% find better situations, 70% don't. That's roughly 4,200 players are left without a home. So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
And listen, but by the way, I'll be real brief with this, and I give 24/7 credit for this. But if you really wonder kind of what the numbers are, they've got, and I won't go into all this. I'll just hit a few of them. If you get a high-end wide receiver, it's going to cost you between $1 million to $2 million. As they put it, an average wide receiver is $500,000 to $800,000. A low end is $300,000 to $500,000. And the quarterback, the high-end quarterback, is $3.5 million. An average quarterback is $1.5 to $2.5 million, and a low-end quarterback is $750,000 to $1 million. Shane, have you ever heard anything like that? That when you spell it out like that, that's eye-opening, isn't it?
It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. On Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, Tide says, I believe the QB position is a position of intelligence and toughness more than athleticism. Will Florida have a QB like Mendoza or Chambliss? These two are obviously intelligent, knowing defense schemes and where to put that ball. Look, again, I'm not even going to repeat what I say every day about quarterback play, but what they are elite throwers of the football. They're tough, smart, and can anticipate, and they're very, very accurate. Athleticism is the most overused term in all of sports. You know, I used to argue with the strength coaches in the NFL about this, Brent. You're either a good athlete there's two ways to put it. You're either a great athlete or you're athletic.
Yeah.
There's difference here.
Sure.
A great athlete is one who can play any sport out there and be pretty damn good at it.
Yes.
If you're athletic, that means you can bench press 500 pounds, you can vertical jump, you can run the 40. I'd rather have the better athlete than someone who's athletic.
Oh yeah. And look, the guys you mentioned too, it's not just all on them. I mean, they've got elite receivers and elite running backs, and they've got a really solid offensive line, and they work well together. And I'm not taking anything away from the quarterbacks that you mentioned, but one thing you've always said is that these guys are not doing this on an island. They've got really good help around them, but they've also got the intangibles to get it done too.
Yeah, it just goes to show you. I say this every day on this program. Ole Miss's receiving corps is legit.
Yes.
I think after watching Indiana, their running backs and their receiving corps are legit, and their O-line. So just because you've ever heard of these players and your coach, whatever school you root for, goes out and gets a guy from Maryland to be your tailback or a wide receiver from Penn State or this, that, the other, there are a lot of good players around the country. A lot of them. You just got to find the right ones for you. All right, Brent, let's talk about the Florida Gators. A lot of guys have signed back to join, to be a part of the program. If people missed it, let us know who those are.
Yeah, Vernell Brown is one of the guys who's going to return. 40 catches, 512 yards. That's pretty good, to say the least. Dejon Johnson at cornerback, he will be coming back. Now Trey Wilson is leaving, or at least he's going into the portal. Is the reality for that? Sharif Denson is entering the portal. The defensive back, tight end Amir Jackson is re-signing with Florida too. So that's some of the guys that are kind of coming and going. So today and the rest of the next few days will be very interesting for the Gators, as it will other teams.
Yeah. Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, if you listen to Gator fans, Jaden Ball is the only elite running back in the country. I think Jaden Ball's a great running back. I think Keywan Lacey's the best running back in the SEC, personally.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Speaking of that, somebody asked on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. I can't find it now. I want to know if Lane Kiffin was at the Sugar Bowl. I do not believe he was there.
No, I can tell you where he was. He was in
the women's basketball game.
He was in Baton Rouge walking out with the women's basketball coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
At a game. So yeah, that's where he was.
Yeah. Andy has a question for you, Brent, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. What's your take on Kiffin making $500,000 for Ole Miss making the semifinals? Why isn't that void since he left?
Well, that kind of money's good if you can get it. There's no doubt about that. I mean, look, I really give Pete Golden a lot of credit. A lot of people thought there's no way that they would beat Georgia. But the thing that Golden did that was so impressive to me was he allowed Charlie Weiss Jr. To call that game. I mean, I know Charlie Weiss had help on that, and Shane can comment on that too. But the reality is the job that they did. And look, Kiffin will be fine at LSU. There's a lot of thought that he'll be there maybe 5 years, and then he'll go to the NFL at that point. But I still say what Ole Miss was able to do in the midst of all the Kiffin stuff, and to stay granted with that was a tremendous job of that coaching staff.
Yeah, I think LSU put in his contract. LSU is paying that money, not Ole Miss. So Fred text on the Titan War text line says every coach left in the college football playoffs, a former Nick Saban assistant at Alabama. That is very true. It didn't matter who won last night, whether it was Ole Miss or Georgia. It was going to be 4 for 4 with Mario, Signetti, Dan Lanning, and now Pete Golding. So, boy, it looks like those kids really like playing for Pete Golding, don't they?
They do. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they were. I remember when he was announced, there was a standing ovation. And look, I'm not saying this is that they were mad at Lane Kiffin necessarily, but I think Pete Golding has just been a real force for them. He's been a calming presence. I'm curious if you know him at all. I mean, he basically is who he is. He's comfortable in his own skin, and you see that. But I think it's going to be interesting, Shane, as he transitions and has to fulfill all the duties of a head coach. How much will he be involved, where, and that's going to be fascinating to see. But he has grown into that job, hasn't he? And just has done a great job with it so far.
Yeah, for sure. MSRK says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, Texas and Manning look good against Michigan. Brent, I'm telling you right now, Eli Manning's going to be your preseason Heisman pick or top odds. The dude has had an unbelievable season. The more I watch him play, he'll be the first pick of the draft, in my opinion, when he comes out. He's that good. I don't know what happened to him the first 4 or 5 games, but he had a hell of a year when you look at his numbers and how he played. Did you get to see any of that Texas-Michigan game?
A little bit of it, but listen, even going into the game, he averaged 252 per game, 62% completions, and before the bowl game, he had 38 touchdowns and 9 picks. they were 11-3 going into the game. But you've got I'm with you. He kind of matured and grew up as it went along, and really kind of found himself. And Shane, the difficult thing we have to remember, he started against Ohio State, which is one of the better defenses in the nation. I think it took him a while to grow up from that, but he did. Yes, and far as we know right now, unless Shane, you've heard something different, it appears he'll be back next year.
Yeah, definitely. But my goodness, he got granddaddy's genes. He didn't get his.
Yeah, he does, don't he?
Yeah, he can flat out. He plays just like Archie played.
He does.
So he can run, man. He can run. Brent, time goes by really fast. Give us some nuggets.
I'm curious what you thought about Vanderbilt. Unfortunately, it ended with the bowl game and a loss to Iowa. But still, I do give them a lot of credit for what they do and what they did. Shane, my question is going to be if and I guess we need to see him leave to believe it. But if without Diego Pavia, what will they be like? But I give them a lot of credit for establishing a culture at Vanderbilt, and we're not kidding here. Vanderbilt actually had there was some thought about them going to the playoffs, and should they have been in the playoffs at that point. And I know they had some players that didn't play in the bowl game, but still, at the same time, that's one of the best stories in the SEC this year, wasn't it?
It was. I watched a lot of that game. It was closer than, it wasn't even close as the score indicated. I thought Iowa dominated them. I think it was a case of Vanderbilt having a little too much fun down in the bowl game down in Tampa.
Yeah, probably.
I really believe that. So
yeah. And listen, I'm going to be very interested to see. I know Tennessee struggled at times this year, but they've redone that defensive staff, and I'm going to be very interested to see how that goes next year, to see how much more they're improved.
Tennessee went 8-5. Brent didn't beat a team with a winning record.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Andy asked, does the Iowa QB have a chance in the NFL? He's a transfer from South Dakota State. I think he won a couple of national titles there. He'll either be drafted really late or sign as a free agent, and then if chips fall, he can make a roster. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how good a thrower he is, but we'll see. Brent, great stuff as always. Happy New Year. We'll talk to you next week.
Same to you, brother. Thanks much. Take care.
That's Brent Beaird. Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Take a quick time out. Come back. We'll be joined by JC. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Atlantic Roofing, Campus USA Credit Union, International Diamond Center, J.F. Hayden's Craft Liqueurs, Los Linderos Tequila, Meldon Law, Titan MRI and Imaging, Castaway Sauce, UF Health Orthopedics. Gridiron sponsors are Baker Sports, Comfort Temp, Florida Cracker Oyster, Electronics World, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, McDonald's of Gainesville, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, Advocare, MG&A Wealth. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And to advertise, call my man Freddie, 352-284-3733.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless, mimosas, and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
The jewelry store with the most likes, the most positive reviews, the most raving fans is International Diamond Center.
IDC is definitely a place that I will come to as long as I live here. This will be my go-to place always.
Literally the best jewelry store in town. You'll make friends for life coming in here. I felt like family from the beginning. The value was extraordinary.
I've got a beautiful diamond on my finger, and I'm very proud of it.
International Diamond Center.
I'm very happy to show it off.
At Celebration Point and online at shopidc.com.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Pouncey, and this is my twin brother, Marquise Pouncey, and this is Life After Football. Let's go. We are the owners of Tropical Distillery, and JF Hayden's is our liqueur brand. We have 5 different flavors: a mango, a lychee, an espresso, citrus, and key lime pie. We pride ourselves on not only being a Florida-made brand, but also a cocktail solution. With that being said, cheers and go Gators.
Welcome back to the International Diamond Center Studios. Florida Cracker Oyster Bar and Grill is the ultimate spot for seafood and more. No matter the occasion, they're ready to welcome you. Florida Cracker style. Check them out. Keystone Heights. Back to the Titan and More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We're joined by JC, who, JC, were your picks as bad as mine? I went 0-4.
They weren't good. I'll say that. Now, I did not pick Alabama. And I did during the game go to Ole Miss's side of the coin when they were
talking about. I just
right off the top. No, I did like Miami though with the 9.5. I have to admit, I like that because I thought they had the athletes and the running game to stay in the game with Ohio State. You know, Ohio State was tested maybe 1 or 2 times during the year. The rest of their season was an absolute nap. And I think that matters when we get to these games. And
you can say that about Indiana.
Well, Indiana went to Oregon and won by 10. So they also played a game against Penn State where they had to literally win it at the very end and convert a 4th down. They went through a few more adverse moments than I'd say Ohio State did. But Indiana is outstanding. Ohio State's outstanding. But I think in games like this where you have evenly matched personnel, and I think Miami is evenly matched with Ohio State in the personnel area, I think the team that has gone through more adversity during the year usually has an advantage in that case because it's not their first time. You know, QB, if I let my hair go gray with this visor, I'd look like I'm Pete Golden. That's who I am.
Could be Pete Golden.
All I gotta do is just grow a little bit of this right here, and then just let this get grayer. And I'm
well, you know, he had to get a haircut when he became the head coach. Yeah. He had like really bushy. I mean,
it looked like a truck driver, but I mean, no offense to truck drivers, but he did have it everywhere. He didn't get to. I tell you, Ole Miss's story is amazing, QB. When you think about where they've been in the last 30, 45 days, it's just incredible. And I think the way they've picked up their chin straps and buckled up and played football and tried to take away these distractions. I mean, when you think about losing your coach literally before you enter the most important part of your football life, that has to be shocking. And that's what happened to them. And yet they still held it together. And I really think it was good on the coach who left to let Charlie Weiss go and coach. I think that's not really the only
one. The whole offensive staff's there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really helped them. And I think you saw it last night with the way they improvised and just never panicked. They were down 9 points, QB, and they never let Georgia get away from them. And to me, that was the game of the year. It really was a classic. And I tell you, after those first 2 duds, we needed a game like that because, man, the day was turning out to be a real bummer.
Yeah, I'm still amazed at what Trinidad Chambliss did. Some of those plays,
you
know, he'd run backwards and reverse field 30, 40 yards and make plays. It was.
But, you know, their defense at the end of the game, QB, could have just absolutely folded. Georgia scores and wins. The penalties that they had, the pass interference, the defensive holding, the this, the that, it really, really ticked me off. But they kept Georgia out of the end zone.
What a lot of people aren't talking about, or maybe they are, I'm not sure what Mike Bobo was telling Gunnar Stockton, because whatever you do, you can't throw an incomplete pass down there, right?
Right. Stop.
It left him too much time.
Yeah, it did.
And
It's
just
like,
you take a sack, because if taking a sack is no different than throwing the ball away when you've got a chip shot field goal. Make Ole Miss use their last timeout. I don't even know if they had timeouts at that time, but it gave them too much time.
Yeah, it did, and I think that for the first time, maybe Georgia blinked. These are the games they win, and they're a great team. They're a great program. Kirby is unbelievable, the best coach in football, I think. And I think it's refreshing to see a team like Mississippi with that fan base who has been starving for something to happen. You know, they've never been to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. They've never won anything in their life. Indiana is by far the greatest story in college football history. When you think about where they were 2 years ago, QB, they were giving tickets away. They were basically saying, hey, you want a ticket to the football game? Students would walk by and say, no, not really. And, they'd bring 15 to 20,000 fans into that ballpark. And now this program has has taken over the state. Forget about Notre Dame. It's Indiana. And I think it's wonderful what Signetti, he is dialed in the way Saban used to be back in 2011, 2012, 2014, 2015. It is the same thing. They make you quit. They change the way you think. It's exactly what he said in the post-game press conference when he basically said, we ran the ball and made them basically change the way they thought about being there. And that's what Alabama used to do with Saban, and that's exactly what Indiana did to Alabama yesterday. So Signetti has taken the blueprint, the efficiency of their offense, the efficiency of their team overall, and it's become just an amazing story. It's got to be really the most amazing rags to riches story in the history of college football. There cannot be there's nothing comparable. The last time, QB, they won a bowl game was 1991. You were 21 years old playing for the Florida Gators. I was 26 or 7 or whatever. And they won the Copper Bowl against Baylor in 1991. Since then, they have never won a postseason football game. And now this guy is 2 games away from the national freaking championship in a playoff format, which is different than a 1-game BCS championship, if you ask me, because of what the team has to go through to win it. It's just amazing to me what Indiana has done. It's amazing to me what Ole Miss has done in the last month and a half. And I think it's great to watch Miami also come back and be a part of this narrative because of their history. So I think we've got a really fantastic couple of semifinals left.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun, no question about that. I saw somewhere where Signetti, his last 3 losses, and I want to say he was in like 40-something games, JC. It may be going back to James Madison, was App State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State.
Yeah. He lost twice last year. He won 11 games. Right now, he's won 14? So, let's see, he won 12. He won the championship game, then he won playoff game. So he's won 14 this year. He won 11 last year. He's freaking 25-2, QB.
Yeah, but they were going back to his James Madison.
James Madison, sure.
Yeah, I think it was that in his last 43 games, he's lost 3 games, and it was to App State, Ohio State, and
the great thing, the great thing, IU, PUI, or whatever. The great thing for Indiana is that they had the intelligence and foresight to lock him down for the next, for the rest of his career, basically, and keep him signed at Indiana and not let him leave. QB, good news for Florida too. I know we talked about this last week. Dallas Wilson was the guy that I've loved Dallas Wilson, but he only played in 3 or 4 games last year. He missed 8 games. And the Texas game was a game where he had something like 6 catches. I think he had 6 catches, 2 touchdowns. Anyway, he looked like the guy we all hoped he'd be. And now he says, yeah, I'm staying in Florida. And, he mentioned receivers coach Marcus Davis, of course, Buster Faulkner, the OC. It talks to him every day. And now he's going to stay at Florida. I think that is fantastic for Florida Gator fans, because if this kid stays healthy, you're going to see great things from him. He's just got to stay healthy.
I agree. They're signing back a lot a guys.
Yeah. So Wilson leaves.
I don't get caught up in it. I'm one of the few that doesn't get caught up in the because I watch Indiana, I watch Ole Miss, I look at their skill guys, I'm like, these guys were 2 stars and they're lighting it up. There's so many good players around America.
They are, and I think coaching means so much, especially the quarterbacks. It just does. It's so obvious to me. I mean, who was Fernando Mendoza until he got to Indiana? Really, who was he? And God bless him. He is so well refined back there. He's so calm. He is elusive. He can throw the football. He deserved the Heisman Trophy, even though maybe Pavia had some better numbers. I think Fernando Mendoza.
I would like, I mean, I still, to me, cannot figure out why Trinidad Chambliss was not in the mix for the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he had better numbers than Pavia.
He probably did, and it's really, it just goes to the state of Ole Miss football. It's not a program that people watch or pay attention to, and the only reason they got all that attention was because of the guy that left. You know, they would get to a big game, Mississippi, and they would lose it. They either to Alabama or Georgia or whoever they play. And finally, they just broke through. And last night was it was the greatest win in Mississippi football history. It was the greatest win in Ole Miss history. I don't care about the national championship in 51 or whatever. There is not a team in their history, QB, that could have played with that Georgia Bulldog team, except the one that hit the field last night. That is the best team they've ever had in their history.
Did you know there's only one team that has more Sugar Bowl wins?
Yeah, than Ole Miss. It's Alabama. It's Alabama. Ole Miss has 7. And now 7, and Alabama has 10, and Mississippi is just that program that was so great back in the day. But there is not a team in their history that is as good as this one. Not with that quarterback and those athletes. And it's their wide receivers are good. They're physical, and they really matched Georgia's physicality last night. And that's what I love seeing, just like Miami did with Ohio State. And I think that's why they won. And that's what it takes. You have to be tough. You have to be physical. You have to be efficient. As Kirk Signetti says, this is what the Florida Gators want to become. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of dedication, but I think they're on the right track with this new coach and his staff. This staff is going to be impressive. You're going to love what you see here at UF. I'm really, really optimistic about it, QB.
Andy on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, says, do you think elite QBs in the portal will be lining up to play for Signetti? I think he has certain type of quarterbacks he wants.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you see it when you look at Fernando Mendoza, his strengths come from above the neck, in between the ears. I really believe that's where he is the best. And physically, he can do most of the things everyone else can do. But what he's got between his ears is what makes him the best at what he does, or one of the best at what he does, for sure. There's no doubt about it. We're looking at really some elite players at the quarterback position in these final 2 semifinal games. And you could argue that Carson Beck has had the worst of the 4. But he's a big time player. You know, he's been in big time situations, and now, it's too bad that Mississippi and Miami have to go all the way the hell out to Phoenix, while Oregon and Indiana play in Atlanta. I think Oregon fans would rather go to Phoenix, and I know for a fact that Mississippi fans would rather go to Atlanta, and same with Miami. But this is the way they bracketed it out. I doubt they even thought Ole Miss or Miami would even be there. Miami, I think you can say this about Miami. The committee got it right. I mean, they were this close to not even being invited to this thing, and that's a joke. So they definitely deserve to be in this field, and now they're showing it. And I just think it's the geography of it all is kind of backwards, but they'll all end up in the state of Florida, down in Miami at the end. 2 of them will.
Adam's question for you, JC, on Facebook, brought to you by Mel. How much longer will DeBoer be in Tuscaloosa?
No, I think with this contract, he's there for at least the foreseeable future. Listen, they got embarrassed yesterday. That's the worst postseason loss in the school's history. But the reality is that they won 11 games. They won 2 games on the road against great schools, Oklahoma and Georgia. And they just finished the year off impotent. They were impotent because they were one-dimensional. They've got to find some faster running backs that can hit these edges, that can hit these gaps a little bit better than Daniel Hill and Jam Miller. And I think losing Justice Haynes really hurt them when Michigan took him from Alabama. Caleb Downs going to Ohio State, that hurt Alabama. They lost a lot of players. And look at the quarterback for Ohio State. He was at Alabama, Julian Sain. So they had to replace a lot of guys. I don't think Kalen DeBoer should be blamed for that. Now, I think he's going to have to build and rebuild some of this team to get it back to the standard that they were at. But QB, they did win 11 games. I mean, they won 11 games and they won a playoff game. But I think contractually, there's no chance of him going anywhere unless he decides to leave because they owe him 80 million dollars. They're not going to let him go.
Reggie on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, says, I find it hilarious that the fan base is freaking out over the coaching decisions. Meanwhile, Faulkner had Stetson Bennett at Georgia and won 2 natties and just finished the year as the top offensive coordinator in the country. It's hilarious. Yeah. Fans, they get too enamored with what they've seen. They only look at their team. They don't look at people outside. Like I told you, I think Ole Miss's receiving corps is as good as anybody in America.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody can name any of them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I think their running back may be the best in America.
Oh, I mean, find me someone better than Lacey right now. I think you're absolutely right about that. And these guys have come to the top of their game at just the right time of the year. They look good against Tulane. They looked really into it last night. That was the best Sugar Bowl we've seen in years. It might have been one of the best ever. And I think it was needed after those first 2 duds. It was like the main event after 2 boring preliminary fights in Madison Square Garden in the 70s. I do like Mississippi. I just feel like they have a special place. I have a special place of feel for them after what happened to their coach. I mean, that is a shocking development when your coach just skips on you and skates on you before the biggest time in your football program's history. And I know he had his own reasons, and I'm not talking about that. What I'm just talking about is Mississippi and what they had to deal with. And I think it's a great story. I think Indiana is a great story. And I think Miami coming back to the forefront because that was a garbage program for so long. I think that's been a good story as well because people didn't even want them in the playoff. And here they are showing that they have the team that's good enough to win it. I think they do.
Miapa Latin Cafe, order your holiday package today. No one does catering like Miapa Latin Cafe. All right, JC John says this. I want to hear what your thoughts are. He says DeBoer has the most talented team in America and gets blown out.
I don't agree with the most talented team in America. Did you watch those running backs? Did you watch that offensive line?
He's probably saying from the recruiting rankings, right?
Well, maybe.
I don't believe the rankings are always right.
No, I don't believe they're always right. And you always forget about the attrition, the players that they lost, that they had on the campus, that they had in their practice facility. They lost so many players. And that's, I guess, an excuse, but it's also the truth. Caleb Downs goes to Ohio State. Julian Sand goes to Ohio State. These guys left. And when the coach changes, that changes the whole dynamic. That was not the most talented Alabama. The most talented Alabama team I've ever watched offensively was the 2020 team. And then defensively, you can go back to the Courtney Upshaw days and the Dante Hightower days of the early 2000 teens area time, 2010, 2009, 2011, 12, and 13. Those were the most talented defensive teams. 92 was one of the greatest defenses I've ever seen in my life, and you can attest to that. So this team is nowhere remotely close in talent to those teams, if you ask me. I've watched this school since 82 when I went there, and Bear Bryant died. So I'm sorry, this team is not in that realm. Yeah. Not even close. Not even close.
Franklin on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says Georgia Tech QB's been crystal ball to UF. Yeah, Aaron Philo. It'll be between Tramel Jones and Philo to be our quarterback next year.
All right. Okay. So this Philo is the kind of player that you think can really deliver for Florida. You really like it? Is it because of the coaching that he's had, or because I don't?
Well, he's familiar with Buster. Obviously, Buster recruited him, and he can throw it. JC, I like dudes that can throw it and make decisions, throw the damn ball accurate.
Yeah, I know you, and you like Tramel. I mean, I
do like Tramel a lot.
You liked him from the first week of the season when he played.
Yeah.
So, well, I hope he gets his opportunity to show.
Well, they're going to battle it out in the spring.
That's what you want.
Best man win.
Let the best man win. Yeah.
And sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. We're proud member Stephen Orr Spurrier Banks. Speaking of Stephen Orr Spurrier,
what?
This was a good night for Stephen Orr Spurrier in 1997 on this day.
Yeah.
63rd Sugar Bowl. The Mighty Gators beat the number 1 seed 52-20.
I was there. I'll never forget it. I stood on top of WJXT's truck and inhaled exhaust for an hour before I went live for 4 different stations in the state of Florida. But damn it, I was committed. Just like Terry Jackson was committed to get in that end zone at the very end of the game. And Ike Hilliard was committed to catch everything Danny threw up there. And that was the finest night in Florida football history, if you ask me. I know they've got 2 other championships, but that one to me, because it was the first one and because it was part of that 90s dynasty that Florida had here, and it was, with those championships it won, that was the best night in my Gator football life because I'm born here and I watched them since the 70s. And when they pulled that one out after Ohio State beat Arizona State in the Rose Bowl to give them the opportunity, and Texas beat Nebraska in their game to give them the opportunity to play for it, it just seemed to all fall into place. It was one of the best nights Florida's ever had. And it may have been the best night Florida's ever had, frankly. I really believe that because it was in New Orleans. It was at the Sugar Bowl.
MSRK wants to know, is Griffin in the mix or will he sit? He'll be in the mix, but I'm going with the older guys.
Yeah.
JC,
yeah.
We got a couple of bowl games. Let's do some Peachland Dental picks for today.
Let's look at some bowl games. Bowl games. It's amazing, isn't it? After all this we had yesterday, they're still playing some other games that, folks probably have forgotten about, and I understand it. Mississippi State at 8 o'clock. Well, let's start off with the clock. At 1 o'clock, we've got Rice and Texas State in the Armed Forces Bowl. And Texas State is a 17.5-point favorite, and that's good enough for me. Give me Texas State.
I'll take Rice getting the points.
Rice plus 17.5. I got to take it. All right. That's one. And then after that, you go to 4:30. I love the service academies in these games because there's no opt-outs. There's no transfer portal. There's no nonsense. They just go out and play football the way it's meant to be played. Look at what Army did. I think Navy beat Cincinnati today. That line's gone from 4.5 to 7.5.
Cincinnati's quarterback must not be playing.
Yeah, that must mean that there's some attrition with with Cincinnati. I'm taking the Middies because they're going to care about being there. And Cincinnati's just having a good old time in Memphis, just having a party.
They're at the Peabody?
Yeah, they're at the Peabody. They're on Beale Street eating and getting fat and lazy. Navy's there on a business trip. I'll take the Middies shipment, even though it's 7.5, and I hate that line move. But Cincinnati's obviously missing some players, so that works in Navy.
Well, they got a really good quarterback. Sorsby is his name.
Yeah, Brandon Sorsby. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where he's going to end up next year, but I'll take Navy as well. You made a good point there.
Okay, 2 8 o'clock games tonight for you to choose from. The Holiday Bowl, which used to be one of the most exciting games you'd ever want to watch during bowl season. Arizona, the Wildcats. Well, that coach has done a good job at Arizona. Young guy, very young guy. Can't recall his name off the top of my head, but they really finished strong. They're playing SMU, who I think is disappointed at 8-4, but Arizona is 9-3. They're catching 1.5. I'm going to stay with Arizona.
I like the Wildcats too.
Yeah, I think that coach has done a great job. Very young guy. And then finally, we end up with an SEC team playing Mississippi State and Wake. Somehow they've got Mississippi State, a 5-17, favored by 3.5. They're going to try this new quarterback out at Mississippi State that Levy's very excited about. He's a tall kid. He moves around, and he's got a pretty good arm. Maybe with some coaching, he'll be something special for Mississippi State. But he's a new guy, and they're going to play him tonight, and we'll see how he does. But they're 3.5-point favorites. That's good enough for me. I don't know anything about Wake Forest.
I don't either. There's a reason they're a favorite. So yeah. I'll take the State Dogs.
Take the State Dogs.
All right, JC, let's we got time's running out. The two big NFL games tomorrow. Who you like?
All right, so these games are very important. Obviously, Tampa Bay and Carolina are playing, but Tampa Bay needs help. They need New Orleans to beat Atlanta because of the 3-way tiebreakers. Too hard to go into. But I think Tampa Bay will rebound and finally get a win on the road. Carolina, I think, is just very limited in what they can do offensively. Tampa Bay is limited in everything, but I'll just go with the home team laying 2.5.
I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers.
Okay, you like Bryce.
One of my old teams.
Yeah, and then you've got the game out west. Seattle and San Francisco playing for the 1 seed. The ramification for San Francisco is simply win, and they are at home in their state and in their stadium for as long as they continue to play. But if they lose, they drop as far as number 6. In fact, they will be number 6. And that means a trip to miserable, nasty Philadelphia. San Francisco's got to win this game. Now, for Seattle, it's the same thing. They win. They're the number 1 seed. They will play in the NFC at home as long as they live. But if they lose, they will then be, I think, the 5 seed, and that makes the Rams the 6 in the NFC. So I think both teams are going to be desperate, but San Francisco at home seems to have some magic that I think is good enough to get this win, a small number. And I don't think Darnold is the answer. I think Brock Purdy wins it, and I think the 49ers stay at home.
Sam Darnold's had a hell of a year. He's a good player.
He is, very good player.
But I like the Niners at home.
Yep.
I want to say the Super Bowl's at their ballpark too, right?
They are in Santa Clara for as long as the season lasts, and that Super Bowl is in Santa Clara. And I don't know why, because there's not a damn thing around that stadium. It's out in the middle of nowhere, but they want to put the Super Bowl there. So, all right,
JC, have a good weekend.
Yeah, man. We'll see you Monday. That's
JC. Join us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Castaway Hot Sauce. Try their signature ball kicker hot sauce, inspired by the HBC. Steve Spurrier and his famous kick in 1966. Have a great weekend. Happy New Year to everyone. We'll see you on Monday. Take care.